Today we'll be discussing classification of living things, what we call concepts of living things. Under this classification of living things, we should be looking at hierarchies of living things, how we're going to put living things in a perspective so that it will be easy to put in or to fit in living organisms based on their divisions, phylum, and what have you. And then secondly, we're going to be looking at classification of the lowest classification of a kingdom, which is the kingdom monerans. And then we discuss further the kingdom protists, or what we call protistas, and then we end it with the kingdom fungi. Out of the 5 kingdoms, we're going to be doing we're concentrating on 2 particular kingdoms, the kingdom monerans and the kingdom protistas. And little bit we're going to discuss kingdom fungi. And I'm going to start with classification. What is classification? Classification simply means grouping or arranging living organism based on hierarchy or based on positions. The highest hierarchy in the classification of living things is what we call kingdom. The 4 major groups in these kingdoms are plants, and animals, basically. But in the 5 system of classification, we are going to be adopting 5 classifications rather than plants and animals. Nowadays, how we classify living things is we no longer place living things into 2 kingdoms as plants and animals. Rather, we classify organisms based on 5 kingdoms of classification. I'm still going to tell you that. But for now, we're going to concentrate on plant and animal kingdom. And then, the next in the hierarchy of classification is phylum. I will use after kingdom classification. Next is phylum, but I will switch it with division when I will be discussing plants. So in plants, after kingdom, the next is division. But in animal, after kingdom, the next is what? Phylum. And number 3, we have class. And the next in the hierarchy is order. And it's likely followed by the 5th one, which is the family. And the 6th one is the genus. Or the last but not the least is species. Species is the lowest hierarchy of classification. Here, you're going to be having only 1 organism in this place. Only 1 organism. Here. Okay. Having done this, what we're going to be looking at now is taking it one after the other. The kingdom is the largest group of classification. In these 2 systems of classification, we have plants and animals. But the modern classification of living things is 5 kingdom. 5 kingdom classification. 5 kingdom classification. The first is what we call kingdom. Kingdom monera. It is followed by kingdom protista. We have kingdom fungi. The 4th is kingdom Plantae, or plants. Then 5, we have kingdom Animalia. The major representative of the monoran is bacteria and the blue-green algae. The major representative of the protistas, we have the likes of amoeba and the paramecium. The representative of the fungi or the fungus, we have what you know as the mucor. We also have maybe yeast. You can add yeast there. Coming to the Plantae, we have all plants. All plants. These are a group of organisms that possess a green coloring pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a pigment that is very sensitive to lights, basically sunlight. All right, sunlight. The concept of photosynthesis is the ability of this pigment to trap energy from the sun, and other inorganic substances are converted to food. The only organism that can manufacture their own food is those that belong to this kingdom called Plantae. And the last but not the least is Animalia. This one is all animals. All animals. The two categories of animals we are going to be discussing is those class of vertebrates and invertebrates. Vertebrates and what? Invertebrates. But before this 5 kingdom of classification, what biologists considered in classifying organisms was based on the 2 systems of classification. In classification, we both concentrate before the 5 kingdoms. The 5 kingdom actually replaces 2 kingdoms of classification, where we have the likes of plants and animals. Before the advent of the 5 kingdoms, we usually classify organisms based on plants and animals. All right. In plants, we have the classes or the divisions we refer to as the talophytes. The talophyta. Okay. Here we have the likes of fungi. We have also the likes of algae. All right. And this is also followed by the bryophyta. And this is where we have the likes of moths and liverworts. And next we have the Tracheophyta. The word Tracheophyta here means vascular plants. There are 2 groups or 2 classes of Tracheophytes, which are the Pteridophytes, and the Spermatophyta. Okay. There's another group again we have as examples of these pteridophytes. We have ferns. In spermatophyte, there are 2 classes of spermatophytes, 2 classes of spermatophytes, and the 2 classes there are angiosperms or spermiae and gymnosperm. Gymnosperm. Sperm. All right, these are the two classes of spermatophytes. All right, and these are how it is. These are vascular plants. These are vascular plants. We call them vascular plants. But these are non-vascular plants. What I mean by vascular plants are plants with vascular systems, plants that have a xylem, plant with a xylem, vessel, and phylum. We call these conducting tissues. Conducting tissues. Conducting tissues. This tissue here is responsible for transport of water and the mineral salts. This is transport of manufactured food. Any plant with these two systems can conduct water from the soil via a process of osmosis. Plant with this tissue can conduct manufactured food from the leaf after photosynthesis to other parts of the plant. But plants under these categories of ptalophytes and bryophytes will have the likes of fungi and the moss plants. They don't have vascular tissues or conducting tissues. So what it simply means that these plants lack xylem and what? Phylum. And that's why most of these moss plants and the algae, they live very close to the ground. Very close to the ground, so that most of these substances like water that they can get from the soil get into the plant by their whole body system, because that's the fact that they stay very close to the soil, and that's why they are too close to the soil, and because they lack xylem and phylum, they can absorb water, manufactured food from the soil via osmosis. So there is no system that can conduct these essential substances around the plants. So these are basically. Then if you come to animal classification, the two major classifications in